Please, yeah. All right, and welcome back to our Be Strong show. I am your girl, Michelle Shirley, CEO and Chief Heart Officer for Be Strong International. Hopefully you have heard about us by now. We are celebrating 30 years of heart skills within the South Florida community. We teach everything from parenting skills to marriage communication skills to community restoration with families and communities. And we just love everything that we're doing when it relates to healthy relationships and heart skills within Be Strong. And today I have an amazing guest for you. Her name is Marya Meyer from the Women's Fund of Miami-Dade. She is the executive director. And so welcome.
Thank you, my friend. Always thrilled to be talking with you. So excuse me if we just
get personal and get, yeah. I know.
Wonderful to see you.
Yeah, same here. And I was looking at your bio, and I want you to tell the audience a little bit about this whole Grammy piece that you have as a background, the Latin Grammys.
Well, that was quick. Well, I am the executive director of the Women's Fund, which has also been around for exactly 30 years. And we've got all kinds of things there in common.
High five.
Yeah. Making a real difference in this community. We can talk about that in a minute.
Yes.
But I came to this from a very interesting career. I used to call myself the Forrest Gump of the Latin music industry. As a Wisconsin girl who went her senior year in college to Madrid, to the Complutense, ended up by hook and by crook meeting people from the record label, was going to translate the Ghostbusters Ray Parker Jr. press conference in Madrid. And the bosses couldn't make it because there was a plane strike. Their office was in Barcelona. So not only did I translate for Ray Parker Jr., but I ended up organizing the whole thing. And then they said, hey, you need to go ahead and hire Marya.
Right.
And the boss actually said no because the secretaries won't like her because she'll be bossy and the guys will like her until she's not
Stop
so cool.
it.
But that was a long time ago and a lot of success in between. So I got to work in big labels for a long time.
Wow.
I was the VP of the Latin Grammys for a couple of years, an amazing organization, also a nonprofit, by the way, Latin Recording Academy. The Grammys is what we're famous for, but there's a lot of nonprofit, amazing work being done there. Cool. But I'd volunteered since I was a little kid in many things. And so being the executive director of the Women's Fund is a much more natural progression than it might look like than if you read my bio.
Really? So how did you end up at the Women's Fund of Miami-Dade?
So as I mentioned, since I was a kid, I've been volunteering. In fact, I spoke in front of my state senate in Wisconsin when I was like 15.
Wow.
Advocacy for the developmentally disabled at the time. So, I kind of thought that's where I was going, but I took a wonderful turn with interesting folks, a lot of really big thought leaders internationally and globally. So I got to, we were laughing earlier, Michelle. I don't think you've ever heard me name drop before.
No.
Right? But I did get to work with you too. I mean, I've been sitting with Bob and talking about the problems of the world. I've been at those press conferences with Sting and translating for Amnesty International. And, it helps freak your brain and your heart and your vision open to say, yeah, why not think big? Like, really?
We should be thinking big.
We have these massive problems and we have these small problems. Why am I going to go down the rabbit hole and worry about the world when I think the world is a beautiful place?
Absolutely.
Just when those things cross my path, let's
see how we can do it. Yeah, what can we do?
And we're in a great place to do.
Right. Yes, that's awesome.
Now, you and I both. Lucky us.
Yes. And I love what you all are doing, and there's always going to be a special place in our heart for your agency because of Marilyn March. Marilyn March, believe it or not, was one of the first people to help us learn what it means to really fundraise the correct way. She was brilliant in that sense. And I met her through the Children's Trust and found out that she was the executive director many moons ago for the Women's Fund.
And
so
I got to know Marilyn very well as an outside, volunteer, and we were doing programs together from the outside. So beautiful soul.
Mm-hmm. I know. Yeah.
Probably with us right here, right now.
Exactly. Beautiful soul. I love it. Yep.
That's
great. Yes. So, yeah. So, I want you to talk a little bit about. I went on your website, of course, and I see these amazing 4 pillars of what you all are doing to kind of, through the gender lens, explain what the Women's Fund of Miami-Dade is about. So, I want you to explain to our viewers, talk about those 4 pillars a bit. Yeah.
Well, complex issues are often boiling down to something really simple. If you don't put on a lens, and I like to do this, if you don't put on a lens and look really carefully at things, examine things carefully, you often miss things, right? So there's a cultural lens, a linguistic lens, an historical lens, a racial lens, a linguistic lens. And in our case, it's the gender lens. Because if you don't put a gender lens on everything, you won't see if those systems are built to really support women and girls truly thriving in Miami-Dade County. That's what we do. So we look, and I'm not looking for problems, but a lot of things weren't well designed.
Right.
If you think that culturally, most of the most important work was never really valued because you didn't pay women, right? So taking care of our children, educating from early when the brain is most rapidly forming, right?
Yeah.
Taking care of people, even babies even in the womb, right? If you think about food, taking care of the elderly, health. There's so many systems
So many
that aren't
things.
contemporary.
Yeah.
They're old.
Yeah.
They're old,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
not the most beneficial for the economy or for the entire community.
Mm.
So I don't have a man-hating bone in my body. My dad's my best friend. I told he's 96.
Yeah,
he
I
lives
know,
with me. My
96.
brother's my other best friend. I mean, it has nothing to do with
Right.
a no or against anything. It's a for getting things right, and we keep on working things until we
Yeah.
get them right. So the Women's Fund, 3 decades ago, was founded by another Marilyn Gladstone, who's 86 years old. Hello, Marilyn.
Wow.
And an amazing current supporter of her Women's Fund. A diverse group of 13 women got together and said, listen, we found out that only under 5% of national philanthropic dollars they thought supported women and girls. It's actually 1.6, right, as the data comes in. And if you don't focus on women and girls, they
Who will?
really get left
Right.
out.
Who
Whether
will?
it's there are no soccer fields for you to, even though there's Title IX, well, there are no soccer fields that are open for us to get to practice in.
Right.
Right after Hurricane Andrew, they gave their first 5 $1,000 grants. I know Be Strong has gotten grants in the past from the Women's Fund, but some of these big organizations, I mean, Miami would not be Miami for women and girls without Lotus House, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Women
Yes.
and the children who've been
Yes.
experiencing homelessness, they got their first grant ever from the Women's Fund. Casa Valentina.
Yes.
Girls at 18 graduating out of foster care, in those days when we gave their first grant and were the fiscal sponsors, got a birthday cake and a plastic hefty garbage bag full of their stuff on their 18th birthday because it wasn't legal for them to stay with their foster parents.
Wow.
Establishing that first housing for them. FAM, who originally worked with the Haitian female community and now works with all immigrants. Urgent Inc., and another
Amazing.
program.
Yes.
First grant ever from us. Educate Tomorrow says, Virginia.
Wow.
We couldn't get arrested because we knew there was a great idea. There was this gap in need that we had identified, but nobody knew us. And so what Women's Fund is good at is putting on the gender lens, saying, what do we need to know? What can we do for women and girls in our community? And listening.
And who do we need to know,
Who do we
right?
need to know?
Yes, who do we need to know? And you bring those amazing entities right up to be seen.
And we collaborate together.
Yes.
And we keep on iterating and growing together. We look at these issues. I'm like, who's got this? Who needs I'll call
Who needs
Michelle.
support, right.
I'll call Lotus,
Yeah.
Who's got this? And
Yeah.
so we're nothing
So
if
good.
we don't leverage resources together.
That's
Benefit
so
our
good.
community, and
That's so good. That's so good. And you guys do an amazing job of that. I want to talk about the domestic violence.
Yes.
I watched the Impact Collaborative webinar that you did with Judge Carol.
Kelly, amazing.
Amazing. And if you haven't watched that, you should. Very, very important to know. Let's talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit. Let's talk about
we have
domestic
4 pillars,
violence.
like you asked before. We have leadership, economic mobility, health and well-being, and freedom from violence is the 4 pillars.
Yeah.
And we have 4 programs. And of those 4 programs, one of them are these convenings called Impact Collaboratives, where we bring people together, experts, once a month to say, what do we need to know and what do we what can we do about these pillars?
Yes.
In the freedom from violence pillar, domestic violence is a huge issue globally. And so we bring together the experts. Judge Carol Kelly, okay, COVID hits. I was on the board of the Women's Fund at the time. COVID hits. Everybody's like, okay, what are all these organizations going to do? What's going to happen to us? And while we were figuring that out, Judge Carol Kelly called me. I was the vice chair of the board at the time. She said, Marya, our phones aren't ringing. Domestic violence is skyrocketing globally, but our phones aren't ringing. Yvonne Mesa, who's on the board with me, runs Coordinated Victims Assistance Center in all of the shelters. Marya, phone lines are dead. You know, people are scared. We don't know. Talk to the state attorney's office. Their domestic violence phone line is dead. Okay, what do we do? I'm like, okay, we get together and we do an impact collaborative. All of those people together all said, we don't care whose phone rings, whether it's law enforcement,
Correct.
It's the courts, or we don't care, as long as they ring. We all worked together. Not only did that, but we created Freedom from Domestic Violence in Times of COVID campaign, which is great. It was 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Creole, of very diverse women with words over their faces in 3 languages, like my mouth may be covered, but I still have a voice. If it's more dangerous to stay at home than to go out, call this number or call these numbers.
Wow.
So domestic violence is a real deal.
It's
so
a
much
real
we can
deal.
do about it. There's so much we can do
real
about it.
deal.
And the most important thing is to have all of you know 1 out of 3 women and girls globally will get raped or beaten in her lifetime. You know what? That means if you look around, anyone there with, our backup team here, there are 3 women here. Like, something's going to happen to somebody. So does that make you feel scared? No. It makes you feel prepared to know that you're very likely to come across somebody who's going to need some help.
Well, I came out of a home with domestic violence. That's why I do what I do. Teaching people how to have healthy relationship skills, right? It's so important to me. I came out of that environment where I grew up then thinking, this might be a thing. This might be a pattern for me to, like, I'm going to walk into something like this. I meet someone and maybe I didn't make them happy. Maybe I didn't do something right by them. And this is what I might expect. And sure enough, I ended up in one relationship that there was a domestic violence situation there. And it was pretty scary. It was very scary. And I had to think at that moment, is this what I want? Is this what I deserve? Am I good enough? I think I was scared in that moment to leave the relationship because I didn't know if I could find something better. So should I stay and deal with this, even the emotional abuse, which by law, there is no definition for that piece, right? It has to be a clear, imminent danger, right? For you to report the situation as domestic violence, right? But I think the mental struggles that I went through in that relationship was just as devastating as that one moment when the person did push me up against, the fence that day. So
being isolated and being told by the
Partner,
abuser or
right.
the partner or anybody that it's your fault, that you're stupid, that you're, it's really hard because that person tends to be somebody that you really love or you care for or you depend on or all of the above, right? So that's very difficult. But if there's this little intellectual, factual bug in the back of your head going, hold it, 1 out of 3 of us, maybe it's not just me. Maybe I'm not that stupid. Maybe even though I did do something that
might have ticked the person off, right?
Right? I mean, there's just absolutely no reason for
Correct.
violence.
Yeah.
And they said in that impact collaborative that you don't know. It's usually 17 times it takes for somebody to be offered help before they end up leaving an exploitative relationship. You don't know when you're going to go and cross that path with that somebody if you're that first person helping them, offering them a possibility, or the 17th. Because I'm sure some people came to you and said, like, he's not being nice to you. You shouldn't take that.
Or friends,
guy.
right?
You know, that's mean. He's
right.
You're smart. You're beautiful. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Right? And you're like, oh, I can't hear. Oh, he loves me, or I can fix him up. But credit those friends. Credit yourself. I mean, now all the incredible work you do. But we all have to know. Everybody needs to know.
Everybody needs to know.
Always something you can do.
Yeah.
Always something you can do, and we should do it.
Yeah, and the difference, I think it's interesting, the difference between those who stay and those who leave. That it's not there.
It changes your neural pathways. I mean, we did another impact collaborative on that where we brought medical professionals. That one, they're all on our website. If you look at impact collaboratives, you can look back. And last year we did, why doesn't she leave? Why doesn't she leave? We had a tough, brassy assistant, a state attorney or local attorney or federal attorney who worked in domestic violence who was almost killed by her husband. Right? Because nobody would believe her. Isolated, a big loving relationship until it got super, super violent. And we were talking in that time about how your neural pathways, I mean, to get scientific, we're electronic grids, right? And our signals are sent in a certain way. Oh, that's sharp, that's cold,
right.
That's hot. But if you keep
just overriding, and you really condition your mind to think.
And the exciting thing is that you can condition it back. Or new,
yes,
or brand new,
which is what we
pipeline
exactly. Which is what it's so amazing that you said that, because that's the part I love. Like, you have every day we walk into a classroom. Every day when we teach married couples, every day that we talk to parents, you have the opportunity today to start over.
Yeah.
Today. Amazing.
Yeah.
This is good
with
stuff.
With a lot of help from friends. Nothing's like that. You didn't
Absolutely.
fail if you didn't fix it in a day.
Absolutely.
But so much excitement, so much hope, and there's so
much hope.
And I just want to put a pin in something you said, because legally there has to be some kind of an imminent danger, but that doesn't mean there's not a lot of support if someone's undergoing psychological abuse.
Correct.
And the psychological abuse definitely often, unfortunately, leads to physical abuse and often worse. So domestic violence hotline, the Coordinated Victims Assistance Center here, got lots of those
resources on our website. Absolutely,
so
great.
Don't not call. And I always say, and people don't, not everybody in the system likes me to say this, but I do anyway, because all we care about is people, right? So if there's an imminent danger, call 911. If there's a physical, right? And don't probably go in and try and save somebody yourself necessarily. So much, try to diffuse the situation, call 911, because if there's a gun around, if there's a knife around, you can make it worse. But if you don't, a lot of people don't want to call law enforcement. You can always call, if you don't remember the Coordinated Victims Assistance Center number or the domestic violence hotline number, you can always call 211. So 211, used to be what you called for suicide prevention. You can call if you're hungry, if you're about to experience homelessness. It's like a community support.
That's
and
great.
They will patch you through to the Coordinated Victims Assistance Center or to the domestic violence courts or the state attorney's office if that's what you need. So never don't call.
Right.
And never don't offer to somebody who's experiencing some kind of exploitation to call. At least 211, you could always remember that.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you so much for that. And I'm hoping that we've heard that today and we've gotten some great advice from you on what we should do to help others in need. So this is great stuff. All right. So there's so much more that we could talk about. 30 minutes goes by really, really fast. But I want us to play our game because I think it's always important that people get to know who you are as a leader for this amazing organization. And so we're going to call our everyone to our attention right now. We're going to play Social Yaks. And so our first level of the game is breaking the ice. So I want you to take up this blue card here with this polar bear and read it out. Yeah, that breaks the ice.
I don't even need my gender lens. It's easily enough. If I had a superpower, what would it be? I'm going to say that my superpower is something I alluded to a little bit earlier. I'm really strong-armed about not going down the rabbit hole. I'm empathetic and I really care. You know me?
Yeah,
I care.
I do.
Something crosses my path, I'm like, Can I do something? Can I not? Does it call to me or not? But what I don't do when I'm called to act is to go down the rabbit hole. So I can't, by being just sad and depressed and unempowered, I can't help anybody. So my superpower is bracing myself, saying, Alice, I'm not going down the rabbit hole. I'm going to call, I know there are resources.
People, yes.
And I'm going to spend all that emotional energy or physical energy or whatever it takes to help somebody with a fishing pole. So that's my superpower.
That's so good. That's so good. I'm gonna work on not going down the rabbit hole. So I'm gonna learn from you today.
All right.
All right. So pull the next one.
All right,
See?
Polar Bear, what have you got for me? At a party, where can someone find you? On the floor with either the kids or the dogs or cats or whatever animal, or
Not on the dance floor. I
after I get
feel
up.
like okay,
spend a
because
lot of
I'm
time on
like
the
I
dance
feel
floor. But,
like
at the
you're
beginning of
the
the
like
night,
hey coming in there high five. I can just see you high fiving everybody all the way to the dance floor. Oh my god!
But I start on the floor. I start on the floor with the kids, and then when the kids go to bed and the dogs stop playing with me, then I'll meet you on the dance.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So our next level, getting social. We're gonna get a little bit deeper there. Pull a card.
What do I do to build self-confidence? I'm 61, and so the
Wait.
answer to this has
Stop.
changed.
You said that too fast.
I'm
61.
proud years old, and I just realized
You look
walking
good.
this morning.
There is no way you're 61.
I was born in 61. I just realized that when I was walking my dog this morning. I hadn't thought of that before. I was born in 61 and I'm 61. So what do I do to build self-confidence is different from different parts of my life.
Yeah.
And I was kind of raised to be too ignorant, to know that life wasn't perfect and that
Yeah.
people were against me, and ignorance was bliss for a long time. But now to build self-confidence, I think I've been meditating for many years, decades. So that's a core one, just like, whew. And then kind of that what doesn't take you down definitely does make you stronger.
Yeah,
And
type of
being
thing.
Absolutely non-judgmental about
Yeah.
everybody else
Yeah.
as much, and myself as much.
Yeah.
I think, we all make mistakes. We do glorious things. We do awful things. We stick our
Yeah.
foot in it again
Oh
and
my
again.
God, yeah.
But you know what?
We get back up.
We are. We're better, and we understand the human race and the planet better when you've done we're all sinners and saints.
Yeah.
And I think that gives me a lot of self-confidence because, the kids are all right. We're
Everybody's
loved.
all right.
We're
Yeah.
loved.
61. I'm still stuck on that. Marya,
Old lady wisdom, honey. You got my number.
I'm going to be calling you. 61.
Yeah. I'm proud of it. That's the big point. That's the big
You
point.
look amazing.
Yeah, I lived in Spain for a decade, and they've got a lot of great sayings. And I don't have the best memory, but there are a few things that I use all the time. And one of them in Spanish is, no me pueden quitar lo bailado, which means no one can take away what I have danced.
Girl, that's a good one. I love it.
You can have that one.
Yes, I'm taking it. Okay, so let's move along to our dig deeper. That's our gopher, sorry. I'm saying beaver. My team is going to kill me.
When
Gopher.
people look at you, what do you think they see or think? Well, I'm not 61.
Because I'm stuck there.
What I hope that people see now, and when they look at me, is that they see a reflection of themselves. If I'm smiling at them, I hope that they see some of themselves in me and humanity back and forth. That's, I think, in this decade, that's what I hope for. I think I used to care like everybody does. I mean, they say, that's how we're programmed, You're really close to your parents, and then you try and reject your parents, and you're really close to your peers, and your peers are, everything. You judge yourself against your tribe, and, that caring what everybody thinks about you can be deadly. I mean, it's really tough right now with all the social media.
Yeah.
Anything you talk about and you work with all day long. But caring what other people think is really, really, really tough because you can't control it, and you don't really know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And you don't even know what elements they are. So I think not thinking so much about what they're thinking about
Yeah.
Hopefully, me being able to see them enough that they're seeing themselves in me. That's my hope.
That's beautiful. You're just a ray of sunshine to be around. Okay, so this is how the game switches, right?
Okay.
So the last level is the owl level. It's called Use Wisdom. And so what I love about the game is that, we go through life and we share things, or we go through different things, but it's really hard to get people to encourage one another, right? It's like kind of we're in this gimme, 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 right? Very few of us might be like, well, what can I do to serve you? I was on the phone with someone yesterday and I was pitching to them something. And then they picked up the phone by saying, oh, yeah, Michelle, great. How can I serve you? And I was just like, say that. It was so refreshing to know that someone else was saying what I usually say, like, how can I serve you? And I was just like, I love you all over the email. Like, I just love you. Can you just keep being that? Okay, this is live. Sorry. Can you keep being this amazing person that you are? And it was just really incredible. And so the purpose of this game, at the end of the day, after we're vulnerable and we've shared all of these amazing things about ourselves with a group of people and, of course, with our amazing viewers, how can someone encourage you? So the card says, what do you think is my greatest strength? I think your greatest strength is you bring such a equilibrium of joy and peace in the room. I think wherever you go, you bring this joy and peace wherever you go. And when we met at Stephanie's house, shout out to Stephanie, we had a great time in the corner there talking and sharing and really sharing some deep stuff. And sometimes I think it's hard to find that genuineness so quickly with people. But you were there and we were there and we just did it. And I walked away with some joy and some calm and some reserve that night. And I think that's what's great about you. Yeah.
That's that mirror stuff. It's lucky to have you, right? No, for me, the same thing. You are a generous spirit.
Oh, yeah. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So that's our game. So now the viewers get to know this amazing woman. And I want you to talk about a little bit before we come off the air about what do they need to know more about as far as it relates to the Women's Fund? How do they donate? How do they support you?
You've heard me say this before. We always say this is your Women's Fund, and not kidding. We're not a paid membership organization. We need fueling economically, time, talent. All of those things are necessary to keep this organization thriving.
Yeah.
So we have a website that's really active. I say people come and they find what resonates with them, right? We have the 4 programs. Come and join an Impact Collaborative. Come and listen. Tomorrow morning from 9 to 10, we'll be talking with our grantees and with some experts about the early child learning education system and how to kind of fix it. It's a women's economic mobility issue that women can't go back to work if there's no
childcare
place for the kids. And those businesses to be viable and well compensated, and they can be. So there's money in that business. It's just so convoluted. So we've got wisdom from the grassroots.
Love that.
One. And in December, we're going to be talking about impacting your community and your tax return. Really influencing by investing in your community.
That's great.
From Kaufman Ross, and we're going to talk about how to really be smart on your tax return, how your business and why pay Uncle Sam when you can invest in Be Strong or the Women's Fund or Lotus House or whatever.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
And Rebecca Fishman-Lipsey from Miami Foundation is going to be there. Kaufman Rawson, somebody who's, amazing story. People who are now investing in the environment and climate change. And not that long ago, needed community support.
Yeah,
for the
that's
health
so
of their
good.
kids.
So good.
Some amazing. And Lucia Davis-Rayford from the Carrie Meek Foundation. So really interesting people. And then in January, we'll be talking about health and choice
Awesome.
and women's choices and human trafficking in February. So
Awesome. Okay. Well, it was great to have you. I want to say to our viewers, thanks so much for tuning in again. Of course, you can always follow us at Be Strong Intl on all of our social media pages. And of course, like I've said before many times, it is never too late to start over again. You always have the opportunity for a new day, new great things await you, and enjoy the rest of your day.